causa fatica per thì có điều để sẽ giải thích mạnh mẽ mọi người lại
Thank you. Morning. Assalamualaikum, Dr. Qasim. Thank you once again for making time. Despite, I know, have you applied leave? Qasim?
Yeah, I know today I will apply because I don't have a letter from the hospital. So they send me right now, so I'm just apply after the session.
Okay, okay. So once you do, I approve it, and then you just rest at home and then take the longest time you want, and that'll be great. Okay, I hope I pray for your fast recovery, Kasim. Please,
Yeah, yeah,
I need you back for such conference.
yeah. Sure, sure, sure. Inshallah.
Okay, all right. So with that, I will introduce you. Then I will do a little bit of promotion for search, and then you can start away. Okay?
Yeah. Oh, so where are the participants? You didn't add yet?
I know they are in the waiting room. I'm making you
Okay,
co-host. Give me a second. To now we have 56 already.
okay.
Okay,
Go ahead.
give me a second. I'm making you as co-host. Okay. So can you see the share screen button, Kasim?
Yes, yes, can see.
Okay, all right. Let me just admit all first. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for coming in to our School of Media and Communication postgraduate webinar. Thank you so much for coming in. With that, we are glad to actually have you here. So, with that for today, what we have for today is our best expert in the research methodology module, which is our own senior lecturer, Dr. Qasim Ali Nisar, will be sharing with you on how to formulate research objective and research questions in your research, and as well touching on general areas of doing chapter one as well. And we are looking forward to actually hear Dr. Qasim's sharing, definitely. So with that, before we start, thank you so much if you're from Taylor's, from other schools in School of Media and Communication. Thank you so much for coming in. And with that, I'd just like to do a quick announcement that, can you hear me? You can't hear me? Can everybody hear me? Yes, okay. So just to do a quick announcement on a couple of things that we are doing for the School of Media. And we have the International Search Conference. This is our 7th year in organizing the conference. So with that, might it be you are a postgraduate student outside from Taylor's University, we welcome you to participate in the search conference itself. So I'll drop the link in the chat box for you to to explore our website. And if you have any inquiries, I will drop my email and WhatsApp, and you just can text me and ask me anything related to the conference or the PhD program from School of Media as well. So just a quick one for Taylor's University and Taylor's student, it's free of charge. Might it be you are from any school, from Taylor's University or Taylor's College, yeah. But if you are an external participant, these are the rates that we are charging. This is a reasonable rate that we impose or we structure for this particular conference, as the previous rates were a little bit higher. And for postgraduate students, we have 20% discount on all rates, where it depends on the amount, you know, when you want to register, so it follows by the rates accordingly. So basically, if you want to participate as presenter, so if you have any paper, any working paper, or any, you know, doesn't have to be a complete paper, you can just, you know, come and present, you know, your ideas in the search conference, and you know, we can exchange ideas. And with that, we have so many industry speakers that agrees to be in the conference. One of it will be Oxford Internet Institute. We have somebody from University of Melbourne as well. So I do welcome everybody to come and join the search conference from any school, just to get this sense of you know, what is going on in the media and communication industry as of today. So with that, thank you so much for coming in. And if I haven't introduced myself, I'm Nurhanis Muhammad Noor. I'm the program director for the PhD program. So we are going to do a couple of webinars lined up for the PhD program, and I will let you know, you know, from time to time if we do through our emails and so forth. All right, thank you so much. So with that, I'll be stopping my share, and I welcome Dr. Qasim Ali Nisar for
Right.
our webinar this morning. Over to you, Dr. Qasim. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Hanis. Good morning to all of you. I hope you all are fine, all are good. Welcome to all of you for this exciting session on research questions and objectives. So my voice is clear, no distortion, everything is okay. Please give me a thumbs up so I can continue. I hope so, there is no problem in the voice.
All good, Dr. Qasim?
Okay. Thank you so much. So formally welcome to all of you, the students who are from Taylors and the people who are from outside the Taylors as well. I would request to Dr. Hanis, please add the participants if they are coming, right? Just to add them.
Yes, I will.
Okay, so formally welcome to all of you. This is the topic that we are talking about by today, how to formulate your research objectives and research questions with a thesis perspectives. So basically, this session is very useful for all the PhD and master candidates. They are doing a research project, or either they are doing a thesis. So students are always worried about objectives and questions, how to write objectives, how to write questions. So we will talk about all these things by today. One by one, we will go how to write questions and objectives, particularly for quantitative and qualitative studies. So basically, there are two domains. Maybe few of you are working as a qualitative researcher in your PhD. A few of you are working as a quantitative researcher. So we will talk about this. This is a small introduction. This is Qasim Ali Nisar, currently working as a senior lecturer at School of Media and Communication Studies, Taylor's University. This is my short research profile. So I will try to transform my exposure, my experience of these research publications and thesis supervision, because currently I have supervised 80 plus PhD and master students until now. So I will try to address this actually gap that students face, this problem, how to write questions and how to write objectives. So my major area is human resource management, organizational behaviors, tourism, and hospitality. Okay, so before going to start, let's have a very short statement for you guys. Thesis writing is not a rocket science. It's an art, actually. So don't worry about thesis writing, and don't need to be worried about thesis. This is not something not achievable. It's very easy. So you need to learn this art. So that's why we have different sessions. One by one, we talk about in some sessions, we are talking about literature review, how to write literature, how to write intro, and everything. So that's why you need to be very attentive today. Today, we will not learn about thesis writing, but we will talk about research questions and objectives. Okay, so this is the session outline. Today, we will talk about, we will start with the broader perspective of introduction. That is chapter number 1. Because research questions or objectives that belongs to chapter number 1 in your thesis. So we will just talk about the contents for your chapter 1. What are the different contents we usually cover in chapter 1? And then we will zoom in towards the research questions and objectives. We will start with the quantitative research first. So firstly, we will talk about the quantitative research design, that if you are a quantitative researcher and you are doing a quantitative research, so how you can write your questions and objectives. The approach is a little bit different for the quantitative and qualitative. Similarly, then we will talk about the qualitative research. So how, if you belongs to a qualitative family, so how you can write your questions and objectives. And lastly, we will have a hands-on practice. Like I will give you a problem, a framework. So you will design research questions and objectives and share in the chat box. So it will be like a practice session as well in the last. And after that, there will be an in detail question answer session. So if you have any question during the session about any content, so please put your question in the chat box. So maybe after a few time, after 30 minutes, I will come up for the question answers. So once I will finish the part 1, there will be a short question answer. Then when I will finish the part 2, quantitative, again, there will be a short question answer, right? So if you have any query, any questions about chapter number 1, about questions and objectives, so you may ask. Okay, so let's start with the contents and components of your introduction. Introduction is the first chapter in your thesis, and usually we follow this structure. This is not a rule for follow all these headings, but normally we have this structure. Background of the study. Normally we start with the background. Then we have a problem statement, then questions and objectives. That is our area for today. Then we have significance of the study, right? So these are basically 4 or 5 major areas. Sometimes few supervisor ask you to write the definition of key terms in chapter 1. Sometimes they ask you to write in chapter 2 or 3. And lastly, we have a structure of our thesis, right? So this is just a template, a format for introduction. So let me give you a brief overview about this chapter. So then we can zoom in towards the questions, because research questions and objectives are integrated with your problem. Remember, that's why we need to understand the background and the problem statement. So in the background of the study, normally what we need to do, we use the funnel approach and we start from the broader perspectives, start writing from the importance of your topic, start writing on the importance of your sector. Let's suppose if you are working in the entertainment industry, if you are working on the film industry, or you're working in the tourism industry. So let's talk about the importance of the tourism industry. Let's start with the importance of the sector. Normally we start with the importance of your sector, talk about tourism in Malaysia, talk about tourism in global perspectives, then zoom in towards your variables, your keywords, if you are in qualitative. So just in the background, you just need to introduce your all keywords. You need to introduce your variables, and just need to highlight the motivation and rationale of your study, that why you are taking this kind of variables. So in the background of the study, you may highlight your sectorial importance of your selected sector. You have to highlight the importance of your dependent variable. Start with the dependent variable. Talk about your dependent variable in that particular area. Or if you are from qualitative background, so just talk about the key areas, key themes in your research. So background of study is basically just to build a foundation for your thesis, just to build a base, and you just need to introduce all your variables in a connecting way. There should be integration between paragraph to paragraph. There should be a storytelling approach. So connectivity must be there. So in the background of the study, normally we just focus on the variables, just try to introduce our variables, what we are going to do, what is our sector, and all this. One of the most important heading in your whole thesis is problem statement. It's like a heart of your thesis. Problem statement is like a heart of your thesis. And normally we didn't find the problem in the problem statement. Being an examiner, when I go to take a viva as an examiner, or internal or external in different universities. So this is the major problem with the students regarding the problem statement. There is no problem in the problem statement. So in the problem statement, majorly we need to focus only 2 parts. I'm just giving you an overview because our main topic is questions and objectives. So I'm just trying to give you a context that how to write all these things. Otherwise, we have a detailed sessions on how to write a problem statement. Maybe we need 2 hours session just only on the problem statement. But just in a bit and pieces, the problem statement, you can say the problem statement is a combination of 2 parts. You must have to highlight your practical issues regarding your topic. Do highlight all the issues relevant, the current issues of your topic. If you're talking about, let's suppose, the employees' performance in the tourism industry, so talk about the issues of employees' performance in hotel industry. If you're talking about the problems of sales declining. So talk about the sales decline in your sector. So problem statement, we need to start with the issues. Do highlight all the issues and start with your dependent variable. Start with your main keyword if you're from qualitative background. Problem statement, you need to highlight all the issues first. And secondly, you also need to highlight the gaps actually. Sometimes people have a separate heading for the research gaps in chapter 2 or maybe in chapter 1, but it is more appropriate to write the gaps inside the problem statement. So problem statement majorly focus on your issues that are related to your variables, and then the theoretical gaps. You need to highlight all kind of gaps actually in your problem statement. Gaps are different. There are different types of gaps, like theoretical gap is there, methodological gap, contextual gap. So these are the three major categories for your gaps. So you need to highlight what's new in your study. Talk about the novelty, talk about what has been ignored in the previous literature, what has been done and what needs to be done in the literature. So problem statement, you majorly focus on your gaps and your issues, right? Try to talk about the issues in the relevant selected sector, and then talk about the gaps in the literature review, gaps in knowledge, that what needs to be done. Talk about the future directions, talk about the theoretical gaps, mention about your contextual gaps and everything, right? Then we have research questions. That is the agenda for today's session. And actually research questions and objectives are linked up with your problem statement. Remember that questions are always derived from the problem statement. You have to derive your questions from your issues, from the gaps. So whenever you have to write your questions, you must have a problem statement with you. You must have issues with you, gaps. So based on that problem, based on that gaps, based on that issues, then we'll try to drive the research questions or objectives. We will talk about these two in detail. Normally we write in the bullet form. So I will guide you how to write questions and objectives. After that, there is the significance of your study. Significance means the importance of your study in terms of theoretical contribution and in terms of practical implications. Practical implication basically means the practical impact of your study to the society, to the industry, to the government. So what is the impact of your study? How your study will be beneficial for the industry? How your study will be beneficial for the government? How your study will be beneficial for the policy makers? So in practical implications, you talk about the benefits of your study towards the society, so government, maybe customers. And theoretical significance means talk about the contribution in literature review. Just talk about what will be the contribution in literature review, how your study will contribute in literature, what gap you're going to cover. So actually when you convert the gaps into your, all the gaps will be your theoretical significance. So when you cover the gaps, that becomes your contribution. There is a gap and you covered it, it becomes your contribution. So basically under the significance of your study, normally this heading is also a part of your chapter 5. So we can also write these two headings in chapter 5, but in chapter 1, just a brief overview about significance, how this study will be good for in theoretical perspectives, and how this study will be good for practical perspectives. After that, there's the definition of key terms. Mean you have to give the definition of all the variables. If you are from quantitative background, you have independent variable, dependent variable, mediating, moderating variables. So usually we can also put definitions here, but this is not compulsory. Sometimes people don't prefer to give this heading here. Lastly, normally we give the structure of the thesis in chapter 1. What will be the structure of next chapter 2, 3, 4, 5? So we just write a 1 or 2 paragraphs. Okay, we have done this in chapter 1. Chapter 2 will talk about this. Chapter 3 will talk about this and all. So this is a general overview of your introduction chapter. But majorly we will talk about research questions and objectives. So let's move on. Yeah, if you have any question, please, for any section, please put in the chat box. So I will answer time to time during the session. Okay, so firstly, we will start with the quantitative research design. So all the students or faculty members or colleagues who are working on or who want to work on quantitative research, so this is for you. So maybe next 20 minutes, we will talk about quantitative. And after that, another 20 minutes, we will talk about qualitative, right? So let's start with the quantitative research, because the pattern of questions and objective is little bit different in quantitative research and qualitative research. Okay, let's start with the quantitative research. Writing quantitative questions. How to write a questions? Number one, step number one, identify a problem or issue to be solved. The first thing is you must have issues, problems, or gaps with you. So normally research questions are derived from the problem. So that's why this is your step number one, that you must have the problem with you. You must identify the problem first. Once you have a problem, then it will be very easy for you to derive your research questions and objectives from the problem. So remember, you must have these gaps, issues, and problems to write the research questions. So you cannot start with the questions and after that you will write your problem statement. No. You need to identify your problem. Once you have identified the problem, the next is now how to derive the questions from that problem. Okay, so I will guide you how to derive the questions from the problem. And after that, the most important thing is when you have to write research questions for quantitative research, normally we use do, does, what, is, are, and these kind of words we need to use. We cannot use how, why, where. These kind of words are for qualitative research. So this is a very common mistake students do in their proposal defense or in their thesis, that they are doing quantitative research, but they write questions, how we can do this, why this is happening, right? So don't need to use these kind of words. We always prefer to use what when we're starting a research question, what, maybe do and does, right? Maybe is, are, am. So try to use these kind of words or maybe any other words, but don't use, remember, write as a note that in quantitative research, we don't prefer to use how and why, where. These kind of words are more towards subjective nature, more towards exploratory nature. So that's why we don't prefer to write these words in quantitative studies. So if you are from quantitative background, so you need to remember these words, that whenever you want to write out questions, start with the do, does. Maybe if you are, do and does, if you know the English grammatical rules, where to use do and where to use does. Then what, normally we use what is the effect of this on this, what is the relationship between A and B, something like this, and is, are, am. So these are the relevant words you guys can use for the research questions in quantitative research. Again, remember, we are talking about quantitative first. After that, we will talk about qualitative. Okay, now the next question is how we can derive questions from the problem. I mean, this is something difficult. Okay, I have a problem, but how to write a question then? So here are a few examples for you guys, how to derive a question from the problem. So how to write questions from your problem. Let me give you example number one. Okay, this is the problem. Issue number one you have highlighted while doing the literature review is students' academic performance is badly affected due to the online classes. Okay, during the COVID-19, online classes are there. So maybe due to the online classes, students' performance is affected. This is my problem. Now I need to write a question for this problem in quantitative perspectives. Again, I'm repeating again and again, so don't need to be confused. Right now we're talking about quantitative. So this is the question. So we may write this question for quantitative research. We can say, what is the effect of e-learning on students' academic performance? Because problem was about academic performance and the reason was online classes. So I can say, what is the effect of e-learning on students' academic performance? So this is my research questions based on this problem. Got it? Please put your question in the chat box, or you may raise your hand. So if you have any problem, please let me know. I'm just trying to giving you examples how you can convert your problem into a quantitative research question. Let's have another example. Customers are not satisfied with the poor quality of the products. Again, there is a problem. Customer satisfaction is a problem. Okay, and why they are not satisfied? Due to the poor quality of the products. Now see the question. So we can use does product quality influence to the customer satisfaction? So we have these two variables here. In quantitative we have variables. So because the problem was about customer satisfaction and the reason was poor quality, so I just write like this: does poor quality influence to the customer satisfaction? So basically product quality is my one variable customer satisfaction is my another variable. Similarly, in the first example, e-learning is my one variable, that is an independent variable, and students' performance is my dependent variable. So basically, in quantitative research, we have a framework. We have a research model with us. So that's why we say it's variable, independent, dependent, but qualitative, the story is a little bit different. Okay, let's have a third example. Sales of a company is declining due to the poor marketing campaigns. Again, the problem is sales is declining. And the reason is poor marketing campaigns. So this is the third problem. So how I will convert it? I will write like this. What is the role of marketing campaigns to improve the sales of a company? So just try to read and understand that how a problem is converted into the research question. What is the role of marketing campaigns to improve the sales of a company? So again, I'm using what does. I told you that you need to use these kind of words while writing your quantitative research questions. Okay, another example. These are the three examples for you how to problem is converted to the questions, right? And in this research questions, you have variables with you. E-learning is the one variable, academic performance is another variable, a marketing campaign another variable, right? So these are the variables. So this is a one way to write a question based on your problems. But we can also write these questions from your framework. Sometimes, you know, you have this framework with you guys. Normally we have a framework. Just a second, please. Okay, this is called framework. In quantitative research, we have this kind of framework. This is a dummy framework for you guys, just for the sake of understanding. In this model, we have this one dependent variable. This is entrepreneurial behavior. And we have three independent variables. One is emotional intelligence, job autonomy, and perceived organizational support. So usually when you do a quantitative research, so normally we have this framework with us. We start with the literature review and we design this framework. So based on the framework, you can also write your research questions. Actually, that is the same. That is another approach actually. You can also write from your problems, or you can also write from the research framework. That is more convenient for the students to write research questions based on their framework, because framework is also based on your problem. So that's why this is same. Another technique, another way. Okay, now can you read this? Again, I'm starting with the what. What is the effect of emotional intelligence on entrepreneurial behaviors? So I'm talking about the relationship between two variables. Then I'm using another word, does, just job autonomy. You also use this word affect or maybe influence to entrepreneurial behaviors. Second question. Third is, you can also write like this. What is the relationship between? So you may use the word, what is the effect of this on this? You may use this word influence or affect. You may use this word, what is the relationship between perceived organizational support and entrepreneurial behaviors? So according to the framework, I have these three research questions. So I can easily write, if I have the framework with me, so I can just write like this. Again, there is no how, why, where in these questions. And questions are very objective in nature. We are just talking about the relationship between two variables because this is quantitative. We already have the framework. So if you have a framework, so you can write like this. Let me give you another example. If you have a framework with a mediating variable, something like this. Sometimes, you know, we have a complex models. We have a mediators. We have moderating variables in our framework. So again, the same example. This is the framework. So if I want to write a research question, so I will write like this. Maybe firstly, independent and dependent. So what is the effect of level of education on life standards? This is just a dummy model, just for your understanding. The second question, what is the effect of level of education on income level? Maybe I can write like this, based on the arrows. Then what is the influence of income level on life standards? So based on these three arrows, I have write three questions. But now there is a mediating variable here. Income level is a mediator between IB and DB. So how I will write? The mediating and moderating statements are a little bit different. So I will write like this. does income level mediate the relationship between level of education and life standard? So this question number 4 is for your mediation. So it means you have also have to write questions for your mediation and moderation as well, right? Based on your framework. So this is a way to write your questions based on the framework. If you have a framework with you, if you have a research model with you, so you can write like this, follow the arrows. These arrows are indicating you the relationship between independent and dependent, then independent and mediator, and then mediator to dependent. So based on these 3 relationships, I have write 3 research questions here using word what, and the last question is about the mediating role of income level. So I write like this, does income level mediate the relationship between this and this? Is it clear? Is it clear to the quantitative researchers? Please, may I have a response from you guys? Just give me any impression in the, you're getting anything or not.
Everyone, any questions for Dr. Qasim?
Please, because this is about quantitative research. So if you are from quantitative background, and if you have questions, so please you can ask.
For now, everybody understands and it's pretty clear, Dr. Qasim. Thank you.
Okay, that's good. Okay, now questions are clear. So it means we can derive questions. The one way is directly write from your problem. And the second way is the more easiest way for the students is follow the diagram, follow your framework, and then try to write your research questions in case of quantitative research. Now, this is a debate actually that questions come first or objectives come first. Some people said, some scholars said you need to start from the objectives, then write questions. Some researchers said start from the questions, then write objectives, right? There are 2 school of thoughts on this one. So that's why for me, I follow the second thought. So for me, I think research questions comes first from your problem statement. And after that, from the questions, you have to write your objectives. So the next part is, okay, I have the questions now, how to write the objectives for quantitative research. Still, we are in the quantitative part. So let me give you example. This is my research question. The same question I already mentioned in the last slide. What is the effect of level of education on life standards? This is my research questions. How to convert into objective? Normally we start objectives with the 2. Always, I think usually we start with the 2 to examine. You use these kind of words to examine, to investigate, to check, to verify, to probe, to explore. If this is qualitative, so maybe I would like to explore the effect, right? So these are the words normally your research objectives are start with the 2. Normally we start with the 2. So only difference is the way of writing. If you just read these 2 statements, so the only difference you will find is the way of writing. The thing is same. Here I'm saying what is the effect of level of education on life standard, and objective I'm saying to examine the effect of level of education on life standards. So what's the difference? So actually, remember your problem, your framework, questions, objectives, and hypotheses. Everything is linked up with each other. It's not like that question is saying something different, but objective is different. Question is saying something different, but objective is totally different. No, actually objectives are based on your questions. So that's why, or maybe questions are based on objectives. Both are the same thing. So everything is integrated. So that's why the way of writing is only different. So you need to learn this art that objective writing and questions writing is not something 100% or totally different thing, but it's only a way of writing. Secondly, let me give another example. What is the effect of level of education on income level? So I just write to check. So I can use this word as well to check the effect of this on this. What is the influence of income level on life standards? So I can write like this to investigate the influence of. So you can use these kind of words. No need to repeat the same word again and again. So you may use to examine, to check, to investigate the influence of. You may use the word effect, influence of income level, and this. Okay, what's about moderation or mediation? Same. This is the research question for my mediation variable. So I write like this to examine the moderating role of or mediating role of income level in relationship of this and this. So this is a way you see all the objectives are starting with the 2. right? These are the words we prefer for quantitative research to examines. Usually supervisor said, okay, use only one word maybe, but you can also use to check. You can also use the word investigate. So these are the few words you can use in your research objectives. And again, every objective is in align with your question with the same sequence. Usually when we read the thesis, question is saying something different, but objective is totally different. So actually this is not a good way. Questions and objectives must be integrated, even it's a quantitative research or qualitative research. Okay, so this is about our questions and objectives. Now let me give you one example. This is a question. What is the relationship between advertising expenditure and revenue? This is question. So see the objective to examine the relationship between advertising and revenue. Right? Same. Then hypothesis. You know, hypothesis, usually we write hypothesis in chapter number 2, but this hypothesis is also aligned with your research questions and objectives. So see the hypothesis, there is a positive relationship between advertising expenditure and revenue. So there is a symmetry in all these three. Yeah. So sometimes research questions are in a broader perspectives, and the hypotheses are in, we just zoom in and write the in detail hypothesis. But you will see a symmetry and integration in question, objective, and hypothesis in the case of quantitative research. So we can conclude that problem statement of issues, your framework, questions, objective, hypothesis. These 5 things are actually explaining a same phenomena, but in a different way, in a different wording. Only the difference is the way of writing. The rest of the things are almost same in your quantitative research. Okay, now it's time for the qualitative research. So before moving to qualitative, if quantitative people have any kind of question, any kind of query regarding quantitative research design, regarding how to write questions, how to write objectives by following the framework or by following your problem statement. So please, you are open to ask the questions because this is the half part is covered regarding the quantitative. So any question?
Any questions for Dr. Qasim or participants? You can ask questions in relation to your topic as well, if you have.
Yeah. You can ask about your topic because maybe you are on the same stage, so you can ask about your topic. This is my topic and I am facing this kind of problem and how to write the question for my case. So please don't need to shy, ask the questions. Otherwise, there are 2 impressions. First is you're very clear, and the second, very dangerous, is you're not getting anything. Okay.
There's a
this
question.
Yeah.
How to design the question for moderator from Zhang Jiayao.
Yes, this is the example. I already told you this one. This one, see this one? Does income level, if this is, I just change the word mediate with the moderate, the same thing. I can write like this, does, usually mediation moderation, I prefer to use do and does. So I say, does income level just changes to the moderate, the relationship. So moderation is on which? On 2 variables, right? Normally we take moderation on maybe independent and dependent. So just write between your independent variable and your dependent variable. So mediation, moderation, the writing of a research question is same. Only that you just need to change this word mediator towards moderator. Similarly, objectives here, see here, to examine the moderating role of income level in relationship of this one and this one. So the mediation and moderation is actually same. The way of writing is same.
Okay, it's clear. All right. Any other questions before Dr. Qasim moves on to qualitative research design?
Come on, guys. Any question, any query regarding quantitative? This session is for you guys, just to facilitate you in your research. That's why if you are confused, if you are still stuck in any part of the research questions, so please do let us know so we can answer you. Because this is not a lecture, remember, I'm not giving a classroom lecture. So this is not a boring lecture. This is a discussion session with you guys. Please.
Okay, there is a question. Any other question? Taizer, do you want a question? You have questions? So far, no questions, Dr. Qasim. I think you can proceed.
Okay, okay. Please, if you find,
I'm
if you have
sorry.
any question, put in the chat box. Tasir
I
Ali, do
want
you want to ask?
Yeah, Taisir?
Yeah, I want to ask a question. Is the number of questions in your thesis, that mean your thesis is very good or a professional, you are a professional researcher? The
No,
number of
no,
questions,
actually,
that
number of questions doesn't matter. If you have 2 questions or 10 questions, it doesn't decide that you are a good researcher or not. Number of questions are not the criteria to assess your thesis. Like if you have 10 questions, so maybe you are a very good researcher or your thesis is very good. If you have only 3 questions, so no. This is the number of questions doesn't matter actually. It depends upon the problems and the framework of your study. Maybe if you have more variables, ultimately your questions will be more, right? If you are just focusing on very few variables, so you in your framework only 2 or 3, 4 variables, so definitely you will have less number of questions. So number of questions never ever matter. But normally for the PhD, we see that if you follow the trend, so normally 4 to 5 questions are, I think, more than enough. We don't need to go like 10 questions. I don't recommend to the students write too many questions. So just 4 or 5 questions are more than enough. 3, 4, 5, 6. This is again, there is no rule, but this is just a general phenomena that normally we prefer that questions should be 4, 5, 6. That's more than enough. Don't write too many questions.
thank you.
Yeah, definitely we will share the PPT, no problem. I think so. Yes, Dr. Anis, we will share the PPT.
Yes, we will. We will.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The PPT slides will be available to you guys. There is another hand raised by Emma.
Yes, Emma. Emma, do you have a question? Oh no, I think Emma is asking for the PPT.
Okay, okay, fine.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about the qualitative as well, because usually the students from School of Media Communication and the students from social sciences, they prefer to go for the qualitative research as well. So we also need to learn about qualitative. Let's talk about qualitative. Qualitative is a little bit different. The phenomena is a little bit different actually. The way of writing is different. The things are same, but the way of writing is different. Okay, remember, when you write research questions for qualitative research, you need to see, usually we use these kind of words: how, why, what, where. So these are the words we start our research questions, because research questions in qualitative research are more subjective in nature, more in exploratory in nature as compared to the quantitative. The quantitative very straightforward. Quantitative is very straightforward. The relationship between this and this, effect of this and this. What is the relationship between A and B? What is the effect of X on Y? Very simple, very objective approach. But qualitative is something subjective in nature. So that's why we need to probe something. So we need to explore why this is happening, how this is happening, what are the hidden reasons, right? So normally we use these kind of words for qualitative research: how, why, what, where. Because what's the reason? Because questions are subjective in nature. This is the reason. So because when I say why, so I need answer in detail. I need the answer of why. When I say how, so maybe the answer of how is a little bit different, right? So I'm not focusing on only 2 variables here. So in research, in qualitative research, we usually don't have framework. We don't have a theoretical framework. Usually, we don't have this kind of like mediating variable, moderating variable, independent, dependent. So these terms are more relevant to the quantitative research, as far as if you're not doing a mixed method research. Otherwise, for qualitative, we have keywords, we have research questions, we have problem, but we don't have variables, and we don't have normally the framework. The conceptual framework sometimes, yes. In qualitative research, we do have a sometimes students prefer to have a conceptual framework, but again, not typical theoretical framework. The next thing you need to understand that research questions are exploratory in nature. So in qualitative research, your research questions should be exploratory. Try to explore something. It should be subjective in nature. That's why I'm saying that you need to use words how, why, and what. Okay, now let's see again, the same situation, the same problem, but now see how questions are changed. Now this is This time we are talking about qualitative. Now, can you read the problem? Problem is same. Again, I'm writing the same problem. The student's academic performance is badly affected in COVID-19. Okay, this is my problem. I'm a qualitative researcher. So what I will do? Can you read the question and feel the difference now? Why are students not performing well in academics? Now I'm starting my question from why. Now I'm not interested to check the relationship of one variable to another. No, I'm not interested to check the effect of e-learning on performance, but I want to see why students are not performing. When I will say why means maybe there are a lot of reasons. Maybe there are reasons of their psychological issues are there. Maybe they have problem with the e-learning. Maybe they are affected with the COVID-19. A lot of reasons can be there. So when I say why, the problem is same, but the question is changed because this is qualitative research. So we will write like this. Okay, another example. Same problem. The same problem we discussed in quantitative research. Customers are not satisfied with the poor quality of the products. But now you will see the difference in your research question. How can we improve the customer satisfaction level? Now I'm using how. And when I say how we can improve, so maybe there are multiple methods to improve. I'm not focusing on any one method. I'm not saying that what is the relationship of quality of product on customer satisfaction, because this is qualitative. So qualitative, that is an open-ended question. How can we improve? Maybe a lot of methods are there when I interview to the people. So maybe I can find a lot of factors to improve the customer satisfaction. Right. So now the question has been changed. Similarly, sales is declining in multinational companies. Same problem. But the question is, what are the reasons of sales declining in multinational companies? So now I'm not focusing on the relationship between two variables, but I'm focusing on the reasons. What are the reasons? So when I say what are the reasons, maybe it can be 10 reasons, it can be 20 reasons, right? So the way of writing of your questions are totally different in qualitative research. So qualitative research, you will see these three questions. These three questions are totally exploratory in nature. These three questions are subjective in nature. And there is no concept of framework and independent variable and dependent variable, nothing like this. So if I need the answer of these questions, I will not go for the survey questionnaire. Remember, for qualitative research, we have a different data collection methods. Maybe I will go for interviews. Maybe I will go for focus group discussion. Maybe I need to go for case study method. And a lot of other techniques are there to collect the data. So that's why, based on your research questions, your methodology will be also changed. Remember, if your research questions are like this, the methodology will be changed. If your research questions are like the objective approach, what is the effect of this on this? Then maybe the survey questionnaire, primary data, quantitative data, or secondary data is more suitable. So that's why everything is integrated. Your chapter 1 is integrated with your chapter 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, let's have another example. Sometimes in qualitative research, we derive the questions from the idea. We have different ideas, but I want to convert that idea into a question. I will ask you in the last that, okay, just come up with the idea and try to write a question. Let me give you an example. This is the one idea. In qualitative research, usually we have the ideas or key areas or key themes actually. So this is my one theme. I want to understand the contemporary students, how they integrate their work, family, socialization, and study. This is the one phenomena, or you can say this is one idea. How I will write the question. Now try to read the question, please. This is another example how you can convert your topic or title or idea into a question. So I will say, how do students balance their work, family, socializing, and study activities? So this is an idea. An idea has been converted to the research questions. Let's have a second example. The idea is, maybe idea means it can be your topic as well. It can be your, the subtopic. The use and value of flexible working arrangements in regional organizations. This is an idea. And the question is, what forms of flexible working arrangements are used in regionally based organizations? So now I'm talking about what forms of flexible working hours. Maybe there are multiple forms. Let's have a third example. Sources of volunteer motivation. This is a very simple idea, and I will convert this idea to a question. So it will become, why do people choose volunteerism or volunteers? So now see how, what, why, these are the words that have been used. Last question. Understanding the value of volunteer contributions in a region like Malaysia. If I want, this is my topic, this is my idea in my mind that I want to understand the value of volunteer contributions in Malaysia. So what I will do? What kind of question I do? Now, can you read the question? What roles do volunteers undertake in regional non-profit organizations? See, now I'm talking about the role of volunteers. So these are the 4 ideas in my mind as a qualitative researcher, and I converted these ideas to these kind of questions. So these are the research questions. I hope you understand. I hope you are with me. So please, I'm waiting. That chat box should be full of questions. That is my style of presentation when I teach to someone. So I always have a discussion with the students. So please, I'm waiting for the list of questions in the last. We're just trying to end up in maybe next 10 minutes. After that, there should be a list of questions for me. Okay, now the same part, we have the questions. Now it's time for the objectives. So definitely the objective writing is again, that will be a little bit different based on the quantitative research. Let me give you an example. I'm just trying to give you examples so you can easily see how to do this. Okay, this is my question. The same question in the last slide. How do students integrate their work, family, socializing, and study objectives? So previously, I had this idea. From idea, I converted to the question, and now I'm trying to convert my question to the objective. Okay, I will take your questions. Now, sometimes one question is divided into 2 objectives as well. Sometimes one question has more hypotheses as well. This is not the way that this is not a one-to-one approach. Sometimes maybe question is broader, but objectives are different. So see here, this is the one question, but there are 2 objectives. Objectives have been divided into 2 parts. To identify the activities that students are involved in, something like this. Okay, let's have another example. Same question.
Sorry, Dr. Qasim, there's a couple of questions in the chat box.
Yeah, I think I will take, let me finish. It's near to finish.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I will answer all questions after 5 minutes. Okay, next question is, what use is made of flexible working in the regional organizations? So see the objective. Now you see the wording. Wording is a little bit different. To describe. To describe is something related to the qualitative research. So I cannot use this word in quantitative, right? I cannot use identify actually. Maybe identify is also most appropriate word for qualitative research. So I will say to describe the range and use of flexible working arrangements in regional organizations like in Malaysia. Similarly, why do people choose to volunteerism? This is my question. So objective is to identify the different types of motivations that people have for volunteering. See the difference. Question was, why do people choose the volunteer? And the objective is to identify the different types of motivations that people having for volunteerism. Same thing, but the statement is different. Last question. What roles do volunteers undertake in regional organizations? This is my research question for qualitative. And from that question, my objective will be, again, see the word identify, to identify the forms of activity volunteers undertake in regional organizations. So you need to differentiate these 2. In qualitative research, we use identify, explore, describe. So these are the most suitable words for qualitative research in objectives, qualitative objectives. But in quantitative, we must say examine, maybe investigate, maybe check. These are the relevant words for quantitative research. So this is a way how you can drive your research questions, objectives from your questions. This is the most important picture. Maybe few faces are like this time. They didn't understand. Maybe they have a lot of questions to ask. So that's why I'm going to stop on this picture. And now I will take the questions. You don't need to have face like this. Just ask me the questions. We are here to answer you. Let's start with one by one. Please come to the chat box, or if you want to open your mic, just raise your hand if you want to ask so we can answer. Okay, the first question is from Zoil. Okay, research problem is why customers are more willing to support one online retailer over others. Is that because of corporate reputation? Okay, this is your research problem. Or this is your research question actually. Can you just tell me what is the question for you? Or you want to convert this problem statement into question? This is your actually problem, that why customers are moving or not willing to support in others. So maybe I can write like this, that why customers are intend to buy to the other retailer, something like this. So maybe I can say, if this is the because of corporate reputation, and if this is your quantitative study, then I will say, what is the effect of corporate reputation on customers' willingness to support? So I can make it like this. So it depends upon the nature of your study. Problem is same, but if this is quantitative, then maybe I will focus on corporate reputation and customers' willingness. But if this is qualitative, so maybe I need to write like this, same that you have written, that why customers are moving towards this particular, the other online retailer. What are the reasons that customers are more willing to support to another retailer, right? So I can write like this. What are the reasons why they are doing this? Why customers are moving towards that particular retailer? So if this is qualitative, but if this is quantitative, then the story will be different. Okay, Zoel, sort of write the questions. Okay, how corporate affects the corporate reputation on business? Okay, yeah, this is your quantitative research. I believe this is quantitative. Based on your research questions you're writing here. So I believe this is your framework-based quantitative research. So yes, but if this is quantitative research, so you cannot use how. I already told you. Don't use how corporate apps affects the corporate reputation. Just write what is the effect of corporate apps on corporate reputation. Don't use how, why, where to the quantitative research. Okay, I think the questions are clear. Your question and objective is okay, but don't need to use this how word. Change the how with the other word. The rest of the question is very fine.
All right, there's questions from Stephanie and Daisy. Dr. Qasim?
Yes. I'm trying to read. Let me go back. Okay. Can I use ideal only or mixed problem statement? This is a question from Michael. Can I use ideal only or mixed problem statement? I didn't get this question. Can I use ideal? Mixed problem statement means you're talking.
I think Jinlong is referring to mixed methodology in a problem statement. Yeah.
Yes, if you are using mixed methodology, then definitely your questions will be also based on quanti plus quali. Maybe question number 1, 2, 3 quantitative, question number 4, 5, 6 qualitative. So definitely if you want to use mixed method research, then your problem, your questions, objectives, everywhere you will highlight quantitative part and then qualitative part, quantitative part, qualitative part, right? You have to use both.
Okay, Horace has a question. And what are the difference between what in quanti and quali?
Actually, what is same, but the other part is different. Let's suppose if this is quantitative, I will say, what is the effect of A on B? So now what is used only to check the effect of one another. If this is qualitative, so maybe I will write like this. What are the reasons students are not performing in online classes? Now, word is same, but now I'm talking about the reasons. It can be more than one reasons. In previous case, what was used only for the relationship testing. But in qualitative stage, what is used for to exploring something. So this is the difference in quanti and quali, that word is same, but the nature and the context is different. The use of what is in quantitative is different and qualitative is different. Okay, next we have, if my idea is understanding the mechanics of immersive experience of VR, how can I transform it to research question, quanti or qualitative? You want to make it quanti or quali? Because your idea is you want to understand the mechanics of immersive experience in VR environment. This is basically a qualitative. based on your idea, it looks like a qualitative idea. It is not quantitative actually. It looks like qualitative. Maybe I can say like this: how we can improve the experience in VR environment, right? Something like this: how we can boost up how we can improve the experience, or how we can, or maybe so you can say how we can develop our understanding, or how we can understand this mechanism. So try to use how, why, and where in your this question if this is qualitative, because it looks like qualitative, not quantitative. And if you want to make it quantitative, so maybe you need to identify two variables from here. Maybe the first one is experience in VR environment. That is my one variable. And then maybe the second is mechanics of immersive. So maybe I can use these two variables as a quantitative. So I can write like this: what is the effect of this mechanics of immersion on the experience of VR? So it depends upon the nature of your study. But again, apparently it looks like a qualitative. Okay, Stephen, is it Stephen? In quantitative, the research questions typically lend to certain methodologies, i.e. relationship, correlation, yeah. In qualitative, is it same that how? Yes, definitely. It's a very good question. In quantitative, research questions are basically leads towards the relationship or correlation. Similarly, in qualitative, when I say how, when I say why, so ultimately it leads towards the methodology. Let's suppose if I say how, so maybe to get the answer of how, I need to have a focus group discussion. Maybe when I say why, so maybe to this why is integrated with the in-depth interviews. So same like this, when I use these kind of words in qualitative research, so ultimately that is also giving me an idea about the methodologies. How and why will not be answered by the correlation or by the questionnaire. We need maybe focus group or observation or case study or exploratory research to answer these kind of questions. So that's why your questions are integrated with your methodology. Okay, we have a Daisy for the mixed Daisy. For the mixed study, can I use research question like two? What are the effects of using blah blah blah? Because for the question, we'll use both questionnaire and interview. Yeah, this is actually, you need to understand the mixed method research first. Under mixed method, we have multiple categories, multiple types actually. We have four major categories in the mixed method. So this question, what is the effect of this on this, is basically deals on the quantitative research. But sometimes to strengthen your quantitative research, you do qualitative research. So that is okay. For mixed method, this question is perfectly fine. So just you need to do a survey first, take the quantitative data. Once the answers are there, findings are there, then you need to validate your findings and ask the interviews. So in this kind of questions, this is okay. This is completely fine. So it depends upon the nature of your mixed method research, that either you want to do a quantity and quali, start with the quantity, go for quali, or maybe start with the quali, go to the quantity. So you need to understand firstly the real sense of mixed method research. But this question is okay, perfectly fine. Okay, can you share the recording?
Another question would be to explore the relationship between A and B. Is this a RO in quali? How to change into a quali RO?
Okay, now see, when you say explore, this is not a quantity, Lina, remember, because when you're saying explore word is not for quantity actually. You know, yeah, it is maybe like this, to examine. If I say to investigate or to check the relationship between B, then this is quantity. But when I say explore, this is not quantity. Or if you want to change it to a qualitative, so maybe I can say like this. How A is affecting to B. Yeah, what are the reasons that A is affecting to B? That why A has a significant influence on the B. Now I'm saying why A is related to B. So maybe we need to find more reasons why these two are integrated. So in quantitative, that is very simple, to examine the relationship between A and B. But in qualitative, I will say to explore to give the answer, to explore why A is significantly related to B. How A has been related to B. So this kind of things will make it qualitative, because this is purely In qualitative research, remember, we don't have two variables like this. We don't have A and B actually. In qualitative research, we have a subjective question, so we need to find something. In quantitative, we already have few variables, so I already know the relationship between A and B. But in qualitative, there is no A and B. We don't have any variables, so we have phenomena only. We have only topic. So I can say why A is important for B. Okay, what kind of factors that may affect to the B? So these kind of questions need to be asked in your qualitative objectives.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Qasim. Jessica, could you please elaborate a little bit on contextual gap and theoretical gap? Only maybe just a quick one. Dr. Qasim, 1 minute on that.
Oh, time is over, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's we have another. We will end at 12.
Right. Because on the okay, this is a very good question, that contextual gap and theoretical gaps deals with the literature. What is ignored in your literature? What has to be done and what needs to be done in the literature? Maybe one variable is ignored in the literature. One variable needs to be added. Few areas are ignored in the previous literature. So when there is something gap in the literature, so it becomes theoretical gap. The gap in literature. But contextual gap means maybe one study has been done in Australia and you want to apply it to the Malaysian context. The country is changed. Maybe one study is applicable in the manufacturing sector, but you want to apply in the services sector. This is called contextual gap. The context is different actually. Context can be country, can be sector, can be population. But theoretical gaps only deals with the knowledge gaps.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Dr. Qasim, okay. You may.
Thank you so much to all of you.
All right. Any other questions for Dr. Qasim? Maybe if he has some time, maybe can you drop an email, your email, Dr. Qasim, if that's okay?
Yes. On slides, I have given my email.
Okay. So I will, share the slides with all of you before everybody step up from the Zoom meeting. Can we open our webcams if that's okay? And let's take a picture with Dr. Qasim, if that's all right.
It will be a memory, huh? It will be a memory for us to have a picture with you guys.
All
Roseanne
right.
is here. Roseanne, my PhD student, is here. Hi, Roseanne.
All
A lot of
right.
students from Pakistan are also here.
All right. Welcome. All right. Just a quick one with Dr.
Please turn on
Qasim.
your camera.
All right. Okay. All right. If everybody is good, we will take a picture with Dr. Qasim if you're ready. Okay. All right. 1, 2, 3, please smile. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for the cooperation. I will be sending you the recordings when we have finished. Thank you so much, Dr. Qasim, for your best expertise in research objective and research questions. I hope everybody could benefit from the webinar. So thank you so much, Dr. Qasim. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye to all of you.
And it's a good session. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Qasim and Dr. Anis.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Qasim. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you so much.